Hey there you guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at my new little plants. I was asked if I could grow some Calathea and I said why not. And first off, I haven't bought any Calathea before because I have, as you guys know, have a habit of underwatering plants. And Calathea are very diva-ish where they're a low light plant or low-ish light plant, but they like to be constantly moist but not wet. So that's really hard for me. So that's part of the reason why I don't buy these, because it's probably just a little death sentence for these little guys. But I really want to try. They're so beautiful, and in my home I need to start making the plants that I purchase appropriate for my home, because I don't have a lot of great light in this house. It faces, I believe it's north and west, but in the west window where it should be all kinds of sun, I have a big porch, so I've got a big overhang, so it doesn't allow a lot of really good light to come through. And upstairs in the west window, it's actually, is it west? It's not west. It's a south window. The south window. Yeah, it's got a big overhang. It's got nice light upstairs, but the windows aren't very wide. They're maybe 4 feet wide, and they're really high off the ground, so I'd need to have really high plant stands. I do have deep window ledges, but you can only put so many plants on a window ledge. So anyway, I thought I'd give these a try. They like a bright indirect light, but I'm going to move these around a little bit to see where they grow best for me in my house. Supposedly, as long as you're able to read a book without straining, that should be enough light for these guys to grow. So it's bright, but it's not too bright. It's not like it has to be right in a window. But yeah. So anyway, the brighter, the better. But never direct sun. These guys are from the rainforest, and they are on the forest floor, so they don't actually get any really direct light. They might get some dappled sun from the canopies of the tree, that maybe holes in the top of the tree, but all in all, they don't get any direct sun where they are. So it would probably be just walk through the forest, down on the floor. That's where they'd be. Except the rainforest, I think, is much more dense than our forests. Well, my forests, anyway. So rambling, excuse me, this one here is Calathea. I can't get that word in my head. Lancifolia, also known as a rattlesnake plant. These are just tiny babies. I was going to plant these in a single pot, in a self-watering pot, all together like this, because they're adorable together. But I learned that they don't like to have standing water. So the self-watering pot that I have, let me show you. I was going to plant it in this self-watering pot, but the problem with this self-watering pot is there's nowhere for the water to go in besides watering the soil. So it'll show me how much is in the reservoir, but I have to, if I want to just fill up the reservoir so it's at min or the medium way, I would have to soak the soil first. So since it doesn't want to be constantly wet, I thought that might not be a good choice. If I had the other type of self-watering pot that has a separate watering hole where I could just fill up the reservoir and be done with it without watering the actual soil, then that would have been a better choice. But because this one is not that way, I opted not to do that, because it's so easy to overwater, because you don't know how much you're putting in and how much is going to be absorbed by the soil before it gets down to this. So you would probably start, you would overwater for sure. So I wanted to put it in this, but that is not what's happening. I actually have these cute little pot covers that I am still going to do self-watering. It's got a nice deep reservoir with a punch up in the bottom, so it will lift the plant up, and I can easily dump any real excess water out. So I can really maintain it a little bit better. So for that, I have, it looks like shoelaces, but this is actual wicking cord. I bought it specifically for wicking plants. And so yeah, I'm just going to cut 3 of these, and I'm going to, these plants, these pots are very small, and they sink way down into this pot. These I'm going to transplant them into these pots, which they're a little bit deeper, so it's going to lift the plant up a little bit, and they're also going to get a little bit more space for soil, for roots. And also, because it's slightly bigger, it's not going to dry out as fast as this one. So yeah, I'm thinking. So yeah, so let's move these off to the side. I'm going to cut a few strings of the cord. Oh yeah, I was going to show you the other ones that I got. So we got the rattlesnake plant. This is Lancifolia. Then I've got the Ornata. This one's really beautiful with the pink stripes. It's called the pinstripe plant, so appropriately named. And then this one, not sure what this one is. When I was looking it up, I was trying to find the different varieties of Calathea. I can't get that in my head. This one didn't come up necessarily. I feel like the leaves are different than this Ornata, but it was, when I was seeing white stripes, it was saying Ornata as well. So I'm not sure. They don't look the same. They don't have to be the same. It could just be a different cultivar of. So we'll see how they grow. Hopefully they grow well for me. Hopefully I don't kill them too fast. So I'm just going to get myself prepared, and I'll meet you down here, and we'll start the transplant. Alright, so I cut some little cords. I don't know, they're probably 10 inches long. And I'm just adding a little bit of fire to the end to stop them from fraying. This will actually increase the life of the rope. If they fray, it'll just break down a little bit faster. So that's what I'm doing now. And then I'm just going to, in the pot, there's always going to be the holes that are raised up a little bit. I'm going to use that for my string. So I'm just going to pop the string in through that hole. As easy as that. I'm going to do it for all three. And if you had a plant that liked a lot of water, then you can use multiple strings and it would pull up even more water. But I don't need to do that for these guys. They just want to be just damp. So one string is fine. And even if the pot was slightly bigger, I would probably still do only one. If it was an 8-inch pot, I probably would do 2. And so on and so forth. Use your own judgment if you go this route. But if you love to water your plants, then you probably don't even need this. But because I am such a lazy, chill gardener, I need this help. I need it for sure. So I'm going to get some soil. I'm going to use my regular Pro Mix. Actually, I might actually add a little bit of orchid bark into it, just for added airflow. So I'm going to use this. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it to add some airflow. The fir bark for orchid media is so nice. I love it. I don't just use it on orchids. So let me just go get a pot, and I'm going to mix some of this soil, my Pro Mix, in with this. I'm going to do probably, let's say, 3 parts of my soil to 1 part of the bark. Alright, so move this stuff out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got my soil here. I'm going to go with another part scoop. Okay. I'm not going to need a lot of soil just because I'm not going to be disturbing the roots of these guys too much. I just wanted to be able to fill up the void spaces because the new pots are a little bit bigger. I'm just going to do a handful of the bark. This bark is also a little bit moist. It's nice. It's just slightly damp, like it's fresh from the woods. I'm just going to mix this up. It's just going to add that bigger particle size and allow air to flow through it a little bit easier. Airflow is key. You don't want huge air pockets, but you want good airflow. It's so weird. Alright, so I'm just going to take my soil. I'm just going to add a handful into my pots because when I look at them, there's about 1 inch of soil difference that I need to add, as you can see. So that's basically all I'm doing. And we'll do it for this one, making sure that the wick is going straight up the side, and I want it to come up to the top. So we got the soil there as well. And the last pot. Making sure that the wick is up the side. And just adding soil to the pot. There we go. So that's all we need for that at the moment. and we're just going to take them out of their little pot. So these guys, we discussed lighting and watering, so that's pretty well it. The next is just general watch your plant. These guys are in the prayer plant family, so their leaves will constantly move throughout the day. So don't be alarmed if they look different today than they did tomorrow, or look different yesterday than they do today. That's just what they do. They're going to really be telling you what they like and what they don't like. So it'll be a very fast change for you. It'll be noticeable. So if they don't like something, chances are they're going to go a little bit more flat. When they like what they're seeing, they tend to stand more straight up. At nighttime, they tend to stand more straight up. They just do what they want to do. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this soil around the edges. Like I said, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm going to got my little crochet hook that I use to put the strings in pots that already have plants in them, just to get down the edge to make sure that there's no air pockets at the sides. Hopefully you're able to see that, because I can feel it's very squishy right here, which tells me that the soil isn't getting down there. And supposedly with Calathea, sorry, you're not in frame. Supposedly with Calathea, smaller plants aren't necessarily easier to grow. With a lot of plants, if you start with a baby, they can be a little bit forgiving, and then they grow up into a big, beautiful plant. Supposedly, with Calathea, the bigger the plant that you get, the more forgiving it is. So, again, I don't have a lot of experience with growing them, but it's something that I've been reading. So anyway, also Calatheas, when you water them, it's best to use a distilled water or rainwater or a water from a dehumidifier. You want a purified water or something without all the added chemicals. Added chemicals are going to give you brown tips to your leaves. They don't like it. They don't like all the salts, the fluorides, the chlorines. They don't like any of that. So the soil that was being used before is basically all peat moss. So this is going to stay really, really wet. It's going to stay muddy for a long time. So it's probably good if I remove some of it. I don't want to damage many of the roots. I want good airflow. So I'm just going to take a bit off, and then we'll replace it with the good soil. It's funny. Let me move this camera up a bit. You can't see what I'm doing with the pots. There, I think that's a little bit better. So this one's going to be a little easier to fill in the sides because I removed more of the soil. So yeah, if there's salts and chemicals in the water, you're going to notice browning of the leaves. You're going to also notice browning of the leaves if they're too wet. Actually, if it's too wet, you'll probably notice that the plant will collapse because the root system is rotting. But also, if it's too dry, they're gonna collapse as well. But I believe that the difference between a too dry collapse versus the too wet collapse, the too wet collapse will be the whole plant is going to fall over, where the too dry collapse is going to be basically the leaf falling down a little bit, whereas the base of the plant is going to be still standing up. We'll watch it and see what happens with these plants and see what the telltale signs are. But there's so many things to learn with these plants, good and bad. But supposedly, once you get the hang of it, they're actually quite easy to grow and keep happy. And they can actually get to be quite large, under 3 feet, but still nice and tall for under 3 feet. And yeah, just beautiful plants. So this one's done. I have one more to go. The Lancifolia. This one is actually a really, really beautiful plant when it gets to be bigger. They're all beautiful plants. So many different colors and shapes and sizes. And this one, the leaves can get to be a little over a foot long, I believe. And they have a beautiful purple underside. So that's such a pretty feature. This ornata also has the purple underside. Okay, so we're gonna pot this one up. This one has a better soil. This one kind of has a coconut coir. It looks like this one had peat moss down at the base, and then this one got repotted with something a little bit better. Maybe somebody knocked over the pot and it got repotted at the garden center. But this one has a nicer soil, so I'm not going to bother taking all of the soil away on this one. I'm just going to move it around with my fingers, because the roots, if you noticed, they're at the very bottom of the pot, not near the top. Alright, so that's going to help fill in the sides of the pot, and I'm just going to add a little bit more for the top. Alright, super! And now, I'm just going to put this soil off to the side. I'm going to get myself a little tray and we'll water these in. Okay, so I'm just going to move the leaves off to the side a bit. These plants also like really high humidity, so between 50 and 60% should be minimum, but they would like it to be even more because they're from the rainforest, right? So they love humidity. So if you don't have high humidity in your house, I would recommend getting a humidifier. That would be the ideal solution. The cool mist ones are quite nice. And you can get the big reservoir so you don't have to change it every day. Another option is to use a big tray like this that I have them in for watering. Put maybe an inch or two of pebbles in the bottom and then fill that with water. And then that will raise up the plant from the water, but you'd still get the humidity coming through. Another option would be to mist the leaves regularly, once a day, once every other day would be good. Another option is to group your plants together. If they're constantly moist, they will, when they're grouped together, will naturally raise the humidity in that general area. So there's a few options for you. I think a humidifier is absolutely the easiest one. There's a lot of people saying that a pebble tray doesn't really do a lot. It does create a little bit of localized humidity, but really, in the case of your whole room, it's not gonna up the humidity through all the nooks and crannies. But naturally, like I said, grouping your plants together are going to create a natural little greenhouse effect and up the humidity in this general area. So misting is also quite nice in general. So anyway, we're going to plunk these down. They've got a little bit of a drink. I'm actually going to add a little bit of water into the reservoir here. Not a lot. It's going to be below the little hump that's in there. You're able to see that it's below that. And then this string is going to sit off to the side. It's going to suck up the water as the plant requires it. So that'll be perfect. That is what I need. So I'm going to do that for all of these plants, and then we're just going to sit them in a nice, bright, indirect location upstairs, and I'm going to put them all together, and they're just going to look so cute. Anyway, show me what you're growing. If you're growing Calathea, what is your secret to success? Or show me your horror stories. Post to the Plants and Things What's Growing page on Facebook. I'd love to see photos of yours. They're all so beautiful. So yeah, until next time, happy growing.